Hi, it's Quinby. Before I begin, please like and subscribe. This helps keep me in the fashionable finery you've all come to know and love. This week's book is A Song for Arbonne by Guy Gavriel Kai. This beautiful fantasy epic takes place in Arbonne, a country modeled on a Provence that might have been. A Song for Arbonne is a literary and emotional feast, a standalone fantasy that weaves poetry, war, forbidden love, and music into an absolutely unforgettable, lyrical, and heart-piercing experience. Here is a sample. Drawing a breath against the racing of her heart, Elise said, "We are not children, nor lesser people of this land, and I can drink a cup of wine with a great many different men." She forced herself to hold his eyes with her own dark gaze. She swallowed and said clearly, "We are going to make a child today, you and I." She watched Bertrand du Taller as all color fled from his face. He is afraid now, she thought. Of her, of what she was, of the swiftness and the unknown depths of this. Elise, he began, visibly struggling for self-possession. "Any child you bear, as Duchess of Miraval, and as your father's daughter." He stopped there. He stopped because she had reached up, even as he began to speak, and was now, with careful, deliberate motions, unbinding her hair. Bertrand felt silent, desire and wonder, and the sharp awareness of implications, all written in his face. It was that last that she had to smooth away. He was too clever a man, for all his youth. He might hold back even now, weighing consequences. She pulled the last long ivory pin free and shook her head to let the cascade of her hair tumble down her back. The sheerest incitement to desire. So all the poets sang. The poet before her, of a lineage nearly as proud as her own, said, with a certain desperation now, "A child? Are you certain? How do you know that today, now that we, Elise de Miraval, daughter of the court of Arbonne?" Smile then, the ancient smile of the goddess, of women centered in their own mysteries. She said, "En Bertrand, I've spent 2 years on Rien's island in the sea. We may have only a little magic there, but if it lies not in such matters as this, where should it possibly lie?" And then knowing, without even having to think of what her mother would have done, knowing as surely as she knew the many-faceted shape of her own need, that it was time for words to cease, Elise brought her fingers up to the silken ties at the throat of her green gown and tugged at them so that the silk fell away to her hips. She lowered her arms and stood before him, waiting, though that was suddenly difficult. There was hunger, a kind of awe, and a fully kindled desire in his eyes. They devoured what she offered to his sight. He still did not move, though. Even now, with wine and desire racing through her blood, she understood. Just as she was no tavern girl, he in turn was no drunken Coran in a furtive corner of some baron's midnight hall. He too was proud and intimately versed in power, and it seemed he still had too keen a sense of how far the reverberations of this moment might go. "Why do you hate him so much?" Bertrand du Taller asked softly, his eyes never leaving her pale, smooth skin, the curve of her breasts. "Why do you hate your husband so?" She knew the answer to that, knew it like a charm or spell of Rien's priestesses chanted over and over in the starry, sea-swept darkness of the island nights. "Because he doesn't love me," Elise said, and held her hands out then, a curiously fragile gesture, as she stood half-naked before him, her father's daughter, her husband's avenue to power, heiress to Arbonne, but trying to shape her own response today, now, in this room, to the coldness of destiny. He took a step, the one step necessary, and gathered her in his arms, and lifted her, and then he carried her to the bed that was not the charcoal burner's, and laid her down, where the slanting beam of sunlight fell, warm and bright, and transitory. Kai doesn't just write, he composes. Every sentence is tuned like a harp string, graceful, evocative, tragic, and sharp when it needs to be. If you're a fan of language that sings, you've come to the right place. There are no cardboard villains or heroes here. Blaise, Bertrand, Queen Signe, even the antagonist, everyone is layered. You'll change your mind about people more than once. There's romance, yes, but also politics, grief, fury, and tender hope. And did I mention action? A Song for Arbonne is a haunting ballad carried by wind across hills of lavender and blood. It's tragic and triumphant, gentle and merciless, historical and fantastical, all at once. That's it for this week. This is Queen Bee Delicious signing off. See you in the next video.